Car manufacturers seem to love building cars that fill niches that we never would have thought of in the first place. And that's certainly evident with this, the new Q5 Sportback. It's essentially a sleeker, more dynamic looking version of Audi's popular Q5 SUV. However, what do we get extra from this change in profile, and are there any detriments to the overall experience from making this switch? That's what we're going to find out today. So let's dive in and see what this new car is all about. The bulk of the changes made in the switch from regular Q5 to Q5 Sportback reside in the roofline and the boot. As you can see, the top of the car slopes really steeply down to that heavily tapered boot, and it helps to give the car a slightly more dynamic profile on the road. Elsewhere, things are just the same as before, so we've got a large front grille and really distinctive LED headlights. It's a great design, but does it have any effect on how practical the Q5 is? Well, let's take a look inside. Because the regular Q5 has only been facelifted rather than entirely replaced, the interior of the Q5, and as a result the Sportback version, doesn't feature the same twin screen layout that you'll get in cars like the Q7. However, you still get a nice large display in the middle of the car, and you get physical controls for the heating and ventilation, which are really nice to use too. Up front you've got Audi's virtual cockpit display, which can be configured to show a variety of different menus, and overall there's just a great sense of fit and finish here. The material quality is excellent. You've got some nice chrome accents to brighten up what is otherwise quite a dark cabin, and that's the only thing I would say. With this black headline and quite a sleek roofline, it does feel quite dark, but this grey material and, like I said, the silver accents do help to lift the overall feel of the cabin. The Sportback design means that you are forsaking some headroom for those sleek looks, but actually there's plenty of space back here. I'm just under 6 foot and there's a good degree of headroom, and there's plenty of legroom too, and the seat is in my position. Now, there is quite a large transmission tunnel, so that means the person sitting in the middle is going to feel pretty cramped. I think you'd rather see that seat as an extra occasional one rather than one that you're going to put into use all the time. That said, you do have some nice cup holders in the middle, and there's some good nets at the back of the seats and some deep pockets for storage too. In this car, you get an optional sliding rear bench too, so you can adjust where the seats are depending on how much boot room you want. So if you are looking for flexible storage solutions, that's well worth adding to your Q5 Sportback. When it comes to boot space, the Q5 Sportback offers 510 litres of space back there. And as we mentioned before, because this one has a movable rear bench, you can adjust that depending on your needs. You've also got some handy compartments at either side with netting to store those loose items you don't want rolling around the boot floor. However, it is worth mentioning that even though you do get 510 litres of space back here, that's around 40 litres shy of what you get from the regular Q5. So if you are wanting overall practicality, it might be worth just considering that regular model instead. Now, in this particular Q5 Sportback, we've got a 2-litre 4-cylinder petrol engine with around about 261 brake horsepower, and that's actually quite a lot for a 4-cylinder engine. And in fact, it means that you can get this car from 0 to 60 miles an hour in just under 6 seconds, which is really respectable for both the size of car and the size of engine. However, the only issue that we have is because it's pushing out that power and because it's got such a big car to drag along, you're not getting the best fuel economy. So though Audi claims that you should see around 33 mpg, during mixed driving you might struggle to actually see that. And that does mean that if you are watching the fuel bills, this might not be the best option to go for. However, it is linked to a really nice 7-speed automatic gearbox and it's smooth shifting, and though you can take control of it via the paddles behind the steering wheel, you tend to leave it to its own devices and it's perfectly fine at doing just that. The ride quality is also excellent. We've got a nice deep tyre on this car, which is refreshing to see in a world of low profile tyres and massive alloy wheels. So though it is quite a big wheel, we've got plenty of tyre to damp the ride nicely, and that means that the car feels comfortable and it feels settled too. It's also not a particularly loud car. Though the engine can be a little bit vocal under heavy acceleration, realistically this is a very hushed and quiet cabin to be in, and that makes it really comfortable and really relaxing. One of the real hindrances of the switch between SUV and Sportback is that because of the more sloped rear end and because of those haunches coming down a little bit further, you have got a slightly more impeded view over the shoulder. However, up front you've got nice slim pillars, so you do have a really good forward area of visibility. And you do have nice large wing mirrors too, so that helps even further. You can, of course, adjust the steering weights and your throttle sharpness via the modes in the car, but we tend to just leave it in normal mode and it's perfectly well suited. The throttle response that you get from this engine is actually really impressive, and there's no lag that you tend to find in some of Audi's diesel-powered models, particularly those that then have to link it to an automatic gearbox. However, it does just feel like this car will be far better suited to a diesel engine, and though it's not popular to say it these days, given that diesel isn't exactly the most popular of fuels, for cars like the Q5, which need nice, steady performance, and also they need to deliver the type of consumption that isn't going to raise eyebrows when you take a trip to the fuel station, then the diesel really does feel like the better fit. If you're travelling around town, then maybe we'd lean towards this petrol version, but for the vast majority of people who will be opting for a Q5, who by and large do longer distances, then we'd be leaning towards the diesel version. The performance that this engine brings to the car is actually surprisingly punchy, and it makes quite a decent noise. It's certainly not a raucous V6 or V8, but as far as 4 cylinders go, it's not bad at all. And then you've got the steering, which is nice and light, but it's confidence inspiring too, because there is some weight behind it. That just makes it easy to pilot and easy to use. And I think that's really at the core of the Q5's appeal, is that you can just get into it. You get this nice high seating position which gives you slightly more confidence and slightly more view ahead, and then coupled with this light steering, the really responsive engine, and the nice light operation of all the major controls means that you don't have to become accustomed to it to enjoy it or to use it properly. You can just jump in, you can drive, and you can get on with things. The Audi Q5 Sportback is an attractive and different looking take on the regular SUV layout. You get a really nicely made interior, you get a good level of equipment, and you get a smart level of overall fit and finish. However, as we mentioned, you are paying the price slightly in terms of practicality for that sleek new look, and we wouldn't be opting for this petrol engine either. If you are looking for a long distance cruiser, then maybe the diesel version would be better suited. But if you're looking for an outright practicality based SUV, then we'd still point you in the direction of the regular and really very good standard Q5. Thank you for watching this new car review of the Audi Q5 Sportback. Now, if you are here and you do have some thoughts on this Sportback version, leave us a comment below and let us know what you think about it. And since you're here, please remember to subscribe to the motors.co.uk YouTube channel, hitting that bell icon so you're notified each and every time we upload a new video.